Yeah. Natalia again. But she has no time for the comic Zooms these days. Well, I rather enjoyed Conan. It's
You want to share or should I?
okay, yeah. Let's see.
I don't mind either way. Up to you.
Hello. Can you
I,
guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh,
Hi,
good.
Eric.
Okay. Just trying to figure out how to use this.
How to use Zoom?
Yeah, I got it. I've been
This is your
on.
first time using Zoom? Is that what you're saying?
No, I've used it for the past couple months.
Oh, hi, Eric.
Hello.
Which part of
Hi.
the US are you from?
I'm up here, Eugene, Oregon.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, well, can you see the share screen? I've got a Conan the Barbarian there.
Yes, from Marvel Comics, huh?
Yeah, well, he's fighting a beastie. The woman is always seemingly portrayed uh, near his feet, which perhaps in theory is where women belong.
I wouldn't go too far down that path if I were you, Stephen.
Well, this stems from a long time ago.
Are you a big
Actually,
comics guy, Eric?
Um, Big Conan guy. I've been into Conan for quite a book. I didn't realize that the comics were so that there's been so many for so many years. I didn't realize it.
Conan comics started being published in 1971, I believe.
Uh-huh.
They are still published today. They will continue to be published after all three of us are dead.
Well, that's
that's quite a prediction you're making there, David.
It's not, it's a guarantee.
well,
Batman and Superman have been published for 80 years now. They will
oh yeah.
continue for hundreds of years after we're all dead.
I'm going to make a movie now about a mutant crawling through the nuclear apocalypse, but they will be able to discover a Conan comic and read it.
Yeah, I'm under the understanding that the what Dark Horse comics were a very good series to get a hold of.
The reason they will continue to be published is because of capitalism. These are intellectual properties that make money for the corporations that own them, and they will never cease publication. That is why it's a very easy prediction to make. Superman will never end. Batman will
Yeah.
never end. Spider-Man will never end. They will be published as long as they continue to be profitable, and that will be forever.
Okay, David Hume would jump in here, wouldn't he? And say, no, you don't know. Just because this has been the pattern of behaviour for a good number of years now, doesn't mean it goes on forever.
Capitalism itself would have to collapse, is what I'm saying.
I
Yeah.
see you're not a believer in Karl Marx. Interesting point there, Eric. Of
Uh-huh.
course, aware of the famous Australian comedian Paul Hogan, are you?
Paul.
Crocodile Dundee, the movie.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, he used to, of course, before he became sort of world famous in that movie, he was simply, you know, a guy which would do comedy skits on TV. He'd have an hour show. And there was one where he played Conan the Barbarian. I think it was after the movie. So this was like the early 80s. And he dresses up as Conan. He comes walking into his throne room, and he's got a good-looking girl holding onto his ankles, and he's sort of stuck there trying to drag her along with his legs. He says, you know, it's a funny thing about being a barbarian. You've always got to have you know, a girl hanging on your ankles, sort of thing.
The Paul Hogan, though, I've never seen that.
Yeah, well, the humour was popular at the time. Now it would be
Oh,
regarded as pretty lame by our standards, but at the time, people liked it. It's like a lot of TV. Uh, you must think there were TV shows back from the early days, which now would be regarded as rather lame. You know, you get a 50s comedy show, and people would think, how ridiculous.
huh.
So Paul Hogan's earlier humour was like that. Like in the movie, it's a much more subtle satire. So the movie still stands up pretty good these days. The Garden of Fear. Actually, I think this one I rather enjoyed a bit more than the others. Anyway, so he has this girl called Jenna who's betrayed him before when she took off of all the gold he had won. He woke up in the morning, she'd shot up, and he's joined up with her again. And yep, trancing along. So we see Conan had a weakness for a number of things. So Conan, you know, wine, women, and possibly song. Uh, okay, so he's wandering along, and he runs into a group of beastmen who are slightly more uncivilized than Cimmerians. And they're having a tough time. Conan helps, says Jenna. Yeah, well, she's going to betray him again soon, so looks like he's in good. He looks like he's got some gold coins around his neck, so he's not broke at the moment. And he gets into a vast fight, gets dragged back to the. Oh, right, the chieftain shows up, and the chieftain has a soft spot for Conan. As we can see, they have a wise chief. Well, taken back to the campground, given food to eat. Conan, with now I must leave you, he says to Jenna. Then, with reckless abandon, the Cimmerian throws himself with full frenzy into the hillman's dance. Well, we see another side of Conan. Yep, likes to dance, while the girl from Shadazar ponders a fine line of difference between hill savages and her strange northern barbarian. I think they got their own female, so it looks like oh, wait a minute, there's some more females. I was wondering a bit about the ratio in this tribe. They're not cannibals, at least. Well, it's nice to know Cimmerians aren't cannibals themselves, although there was a related tribe to the Cimmerians who were cannibals. They were driven out of Ukraine by the Scythians. I think the nobility might have been wiped out, but a large group of them famously went into Anatolia. And you get the feeling that Howard must have read Herodotus and more or less pseudo-based his world on the world of Herodotus, rather than the supposed world of 12,000 years ago. Okay. I wonder if they have any precious stones from these hills. Hide your greed, girl. These are simple folk. Isn't that a red flag? Like he's even thinking about marrying Jenna for about 6 months or 3 months. And he's got this red flag already. Greed. Even though Conan seems to be sort of greedy himself. I think this is the amount of precedence she gives to baubles of wealth. Well, there's no harm in asking. I think this is based on some real life experience here. Okay, where'd the wing? Oh, right. So the sort of gargoyle creature goes in and steals Jenna. So he goes chasing after a winged angel of death that's going to test Conan's powers later on, to the point where he could have been the victim, to rescue a girl who's treacherous. Oh, well. And the hill savages turn into silence. They don't want to speak about it. Once one gets taken, forget about it. They don't want to know about it. To chase the blue gargoyle is death. Okay, makes it past the crocodilians. Makes it past the woolly mammoth. These ones don't seem to be bothered by humans, which seems to be strange to him. And makes it to a golden tower. So there seem to be a lot of golden towers in Conan's world, usually with a mad wizard or some sort of other monster at the top. Okay, there he is. Beautiful, isn't he? The winged gargoyle. What do you reckon? Win the male beauty contest, whatever they have. I noticed towards the end of this this compilation that the Inca left and got replaced by another Inca. Did you notice that, David?
Well, okay, this is Sal Buscema.
You mean the Inca?
Yes.
Okay, it was somebody else, I think.
Looks like by the time we get later on, looks like still Sal Buscema.
Well, yeah, let's see. Where was that issue at the end?
Um,
Okay, this is the last one, which had a new Inca. Barry Smith, was it? Uh, oh, okay. Okay, right. I'll feel terribly remiss if I didn't write to congratulate. All right, okay, blah, blah, blah. I missed it. Where is it?
Looks to me like it was Sal Buscema most of the time, and when it wasn't, it was Smith himself.
Okay, our young British feels Barry. Okay, guy Barry Smith. Final appearance as a regular artist of the Conan the Barbarian. Is that he seems to have been achieved some fame later on when I was checking him out. So he's moved on to something else. Well, there's a nice little picture. What do you reckon, Dave? Yeah, he's returned the wizard's daughter. The wizard had been an earlier enemy of his in an earlier time, but the wizard engaged in some venture. Okay, he's got to get to the Golden Tower, and the Golden Tower is protected by dangerous weeds. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but yeah, so an ordinary bean trying to cut its way through the dangerous weeds is in trouble. And this blue gargoyle guy is like sacrificing humans to the weeds. So he's throwing one of the captured humans into the weeds who sort of gets devoured. So Jenna's been lined up for sacrifice, he supposes. I know. I look at this guy, and he's quite an interesting looking dude, isn't he? He's an outstanding creation for this sort of comic series. Well, the gargoyle, the blue gargoyle's got Jenna. With any luck, she could have screwed over the blue gargoyle, I reckon. But he hasn't actually thrown her over the side in this. I reckon, yeah, it's a nice little piece of work there. What do you think of that little split image there between the gargoyle and Conan? Back to the Tuskers. Ah, he's got an idea. Start a stampede, and the Tuskers stampede through the magic foliage and destroy it. The magic foliage couldn't consume a herd of woolly mammoths. Climbs up, fighting it out with a gargoyle. I know what do you reckon, Dave, about these wings? I find it's just very, very pleasing to the eye. Well, the only thing Conan seems to wear most of the time is a furry pair of underpants.
I don't think those are gold coins. I think they're just medallions he's got on.
Okay. I'm just wondering why high class chicks like this one wandering around the dangerous parts of Iberia all the time. Oh, well, he fights it out. There's a bit of a struggle, this guy, but he defeats him. Oh, well, he's rescued Jenna looks around the tower. These terrible flowers, Conan, did they only grow here? How did they devour? That reminds me, I dropped our food pouch out there somewhere. Well, maybe there's food on the yonder side of those cliffs. We'll do better. Before those hairy tuskers start looking good to me. They walked hand in hand out of the valley and into the golden arms of the morning. Yeah, this particular one I think was the blue wing steam, and I found quite pleasing. Next one. Okay, he's seeking admission to the great Corinthians city state. So in theory, he's in Greece, sort of. I've told you I'm a trapper. I'm a trader in these animal furs, and the girl is with me. If you're a trapper, I'm the Red Priest's nephew. Another pair of thieves, more likely. Seem to be a lot of thieves in this world. Maybe that's a general term for the homeless. So we see Barry Smith as an artist here. Oh, okay. Okay, he's the artist. Roy Thomas is the writer and Barry Smith is the artist. Okay. So we've got Sam Rosen and Sal Buscema.
Looks to me like it was always Buscema, and if it wasn't, then it was Smith himself who was inking.
Oh, right. Yeah, it says Barry Smith is the artist here. I think it must have mistaken Barry Smith for the inker for some reason.
May I ask? I thought that said 1971. This is the very beginning.
Yeah. This is the second volume of the collection.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, I was just wondering, Eric. So, what sort of Conan have you been doing? You've been doing the novels, have you?
I've read all the Conan series, and oh, my stop it phone. Yeah, and I've also listened to all the audiobooks after I read them. I also play the video games. And I've been through quite, a little bit about the authors.
Yeah, I've never sort of been into that sort of video game. I used to like, more your strategy games, Civilization, Total War, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So what's it like playing a Conan game?
It's kind of, Funcom did a really good job of bringing all the lore of the books into the game, but I really don't think most people notice. I don't think most people notice. So it's okay. I'm just a big fan of the books.
Yeah, well, for me, one of the reasons I'm looking at this comic series is
Mhm.
I used to go to the Melbourne Science Fiction Club. I'm from Melbourne, Australia.
Oh, cool.
And like at a certain point, there was only one shop that was selling science fiction material. It was called Space Age Books, and it sort of was a phenomenon of the 70s into the early 80s until the market got very commercial. So it was more your very old style sort of comic book store. You remember those, Dave?
Yeah, that was at the very beginning of my days. I didn't collect a lot of comic books back then, but yes, I do remember.
This was a store that was unkempt, smelled,
Yeah.
whereas getting towards the mid 80s, it was the color of money. And then with, a lot of investment money around, you started to get these comic book stores are a lot slicker. We have outlets in different cities, whereas, this first comic book store I went to was something that was just in Melbourne. It had the one owner, and he gave us a room upstairs where we could meet on Friday nights. Now, the interesting thing, apparently the Melbourne Science Fiction Club was the second oldest in the world after, I think, the LA Science Fiction Club.
And as a science fiction genre, they consider this a lot of sword and sorcery. So that kind of falls right into that.
Yeah, well, this is a time in the 80s it was sort of starting to explode. It's the
Oh,
color of
yeah.
money. I mean, David was telling us about the color of money in a sense, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That this stuff started off that it was known, your science fiction, but it was relatively low key. I think when I was a kid picking up science fiction novels uh, in the early 70s at the newsagents or something like that, it was like this was popular stuff, but it wasn't mega dollars yet. But by the early 80s, by the late 70s, the color of money was starting to take over. There was just such a multitude of authors who were in many cases just aping the earlier authors. I suppose technology made a lot of difference because, of course, by the early 80s, you had the home computer, and this made things very easy for authors. Okay. Who asked you to speak woman? Well, this is a Hyperborean age. This comic might have to be burned in the Ministry of whatever and rewritten. Oh, wench, we've enough of your kind in this city too. It refers to their god, what in Mitra's name? What's your slimy tongue, dog? Or I'll skewer you with your own pike. Okay, they get distracted by the captain of the guards. They got something better to do. So they're trying to catch a thief. And Conan can sort of muscle his way in. And then he's in a fight with the guards, and the thief drops bricks from the top of a building, which would be rather mean, actually. And he rescues Conan. Who's taken a shine to Conan for some reason. Well, I don't know. What do you reckon about this clothing for a Hyperborean city from about 12,000 BC? What's this guy got on? Yeah, it looks like something you'd see in LA today. All right, we've got the blonde dude showing up. He's another of the thieves, and he's going to betray Conan later. So anyway, there's always one of these priest figures who are such a power in the city that nobody's usually going to touch them. So he's created a haven for the thieves, and he's become a fence, this priest here. I'm trying to work out this piece of art he's got, which is sort of like naked bodies curled up with each other going to the ceiling. He's also got this god, sort of bull god, which is frozen in place until he releases it. Jenna, then you found this back door after all. Yes, though I don't know why I bothered. Archimarian, you've been holding out on me. What lovely vision is lit this? Well, if she's a street girl, I want to spend more time hanging around on the streets. So she's found her blonde Adonis, and it's love at first sight. Yep. Conan's girl, not so much anymore. Anyway, they've gone off to give the Red Priest a hard time. What's his name? Narbondius. Okay. Hit by the guards again. Succeeded again, and now she's arm in arm with her rival. Conan strikes her new love. How dare you strike him? He's a delicate, sensitive, not like you. If you're so strong, why don't you go and rescue Burgun? Okay, Burgun's a captain of the guards who befriended from an earlier novel, who's fallen on hard times, it seems. Anyway, so... Oh, that's right. Okay. Looks like the red-haired dude was Burgun. The guy he'd met before. This reveals why he was so enchanted by Conan. They were already friends. Okay, he goes to rescue Burgun. It's usually a 3-day wait before a hanging, but they've decided to curtail that, and they're going to hang him straight away. So unfortunately, Conan fails to rescue his friend. He gets hung. It'll be Natalia again, I bet. Or is it somebody else? Yep. Oh, yeah. That's Natalia again. Okay, he's gone back to get revenge on the Green Priest because he's betrayed their party and broken the rules of the thieves. Okay, he rips off the medallion of the Green Priest, which releases the bull god, who Okay, does Conan manage to write? The bull gods like Steph, apparently. Crushes his former priest. Bypasses Conan and heads back to the stars. And he finds the broken green priest. Mercy, the green priest, mercy. So a quick deaf priest is mercy of a sort. And he goes to rescue his friend's body. So what do you reckon, Eric? You being a fan of the novels, you're probably more used to Fraserda. What's his name? Fraserda, the artist that did all the covers back in those days.
Yes.
He turned Conan into
Yes, except I think except yeah.
a big piece of beef.
Mm-hmm.
However, this guy stuck with somebody who's more styled after Charles Atlas.
Yeah.
Which of course is sensible because this is about as built you can get and remain athletic, which Conan also had to do. So, like Arnold Schwarzenegger would be hardly athletic. He wouldn't be able to run as fast as anybody else. He would tire a lot quicker.
Yeah, it was after reading all the movie came out after I'd read most of the literature. So it took me a little while to adapt to Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Conan. He didn't have not the dark hair, the blue eyes, not as dexterous. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, well, that's right. I was going to the science fiction club and, they had various things. And I noticed that the main fans in the club were all reading Conan.
Mm-hmm.
And I never read Conan. And I thought, why were they so captivated? And tried to read a few lines and thought, well, this isn't quite intellectual enough for me. So,
Yeah, it's a bunch of really good short stories, really. But yeah, you do get the imagery of Conan being very well built, a little bit taller than the average man, and it doesn't get excited easily about everything going on.
taciturn is a word, is it?
Tacitone?
Taciturn, yeah. God, what does it mean again? What's the exact meaning?
Laconic.
Yeah,
Laconic.
so the artist that wrote, I mean the artist that drew the pictures for most of the series of Conan books originally, was that before or after this? Is this before he was doing that work?
This was before. Sorry, I didn't catch you there. I was trying to look at the meaning of taciturn.
Yeah, the this artist here, he is a I see what you're saying, but I don't know which in 1970s was this the first depiction of Conan? Did the other artists come after that? I don't remember when the first books hit. I remember I'd read them all in the 80s.
I think the Conan books had become fairly popular a lot earlier than that. I think
Okay.
Robert E. Howard, became fairly big after his death at some point.
Oh yeah. But but that was a long time ago, 1936, 37.
Yeah, I think Conan the Barbarian was already pretty big by that period. Uh, Now, I suppose this comic book was probably one of the key pieces of fandom for
Yeah.
Conan, of course.
So they started drawing, some of these artists here were drawing in the 1970s.
Yeah, it started around 1970, 1971.
Yeah.
And this comic was a big hit, fairly popular. I mean, it looks like the 70s, early 70s was a sort of high point for comics.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know if David would disagree with that, but it seems to have been uh, you look at the comics that came out in the 80s and, they're much more nicely produced, but they don't have the same sort of raw appeal that I knew as a kid. Okay, taciturn, a person reserved or uncommunicative in speech, saying little.
Yeah. Saying little, and what I was trying to say was even another word where, very traumatic things are happening around, and yet he remains unaffected by it, keeps an even tone. And the books portray that a lot.
Presence of mind. Like if you're in a shocking experience, most people sort of lose their minds.
Yep.
They
Yeah.
can't think. They're freaking out. They're panicking. The person with presence of mind is a bit like that Plato story. So you have the charioteer and the two horses. Is somebody who can rein in the horses, so to speak, and see what's going on around them. He has a short story in this, The Black Knight, just to make the comic long enough. So the Black Knight is sort of a Robin Hood sort of figure in King Arthur's time, secretly trying to help the little guy against the big guy. And he does Cole, the Conqueror, here. Now, this was another comic series they tried to start off but didn't succeed.
Coal, didn't Robert E. Howard did have some coal in his work, didn't he?
Yeah. I think this was a Robert E. Howard character, but they tried to do a comic series based on him. I think perhaps it lasted a couple of years.
I've heard about it and read about it, and I can't remember. That was a long time ago. That was in the 80s. I don't.
I'm no expert, of course. I only know a little bit from looking at this series of comics. Okay, does a bit of poetry here. Before the shadow slew the sun, this is right. This is this would be a Howard poetry. The kites were soaring free, and Cole rode down the forest road, his red sword at his knee, and the winds were whispering round the world, King Cole rides to the sea. The sun died crimson in the sea, the long grey shadows fell. The moon rose like a silver skull that wrought a demon spell. For in its light great trees stood up, like spectres out of hell. In spectral light the trees stood up, inhuman monsters dim. Cole fought each trunk a living shape, each branch a knotted limb, and strange, unmortal evil eyes flamed horribly at him. Okay, so I assume Cole becomes a king. But the thing is, we know from the Middle Ages that generally the kings weren't necessarily able fighters themselves. They employed able fighters to do the fighting for them.
King Cole of High Atlantis.
Yeah. Well, this whole Hyperborean age was set at the time of the mythical Atlantis.
So and then as when Conan's much older, and that he takes over King of Atlantis.
Oh, one of the kingdoms. Yeah, I don't know. It was Aquilonia, was it? The
Aquilonia,
original.
Aquilonia. No, yeah, okay, not yeah, Aquilonia in his 50s.
Yeah, I went and saw the Conan movie and I quite loved it. I was about 22 at the time and I went and watched it about 8 times.
Oh,
So that and Empire Strikes Back were the two movies I went and watched multiple times.
yes, I've seen it many times.
Quite amusing. I remember the great scene where he's pushing around the mill.
Hmm. That's yeah, the slave, what do they call those darn things? Yeah.
Now, this movie was attacked bitterly by the science fiction fans in the club, who said that the Conan of the novels would have never allowed himself to be a slave. If he could kill his master and escape, that's what he's going to do. So the idea that he
Well,
would spend years chained to the Great Wheel, which was a device to explain where he got these powerful muscles, which the science fiction fans said no, most likely that would simply wreck his health.
well, it didn't exactly match the books, but it definitely got him up to speed. No, because at 15 he was starting his first battles for sure. And I felt like all that did in the movie was it just like brought it up to speed so they could, you know, have some adventures with Conan in an interesting way. It didn't really match anything. Rogues in the House.
Yeah, I've read none of the books. I looked at the list of them, so
Mhm.
they are something. There's not exactly a huge amount. You can get through the entire series if you want to. I did a few years when I was in my teens pick up a compilation of Howard stories, but not Conan. I was quite impressed actually.
Yeah.
Uh, there's one story called "The Marches of," oh sorry, the Grey God Passes. That was based on the Battle of Clontarf in 1014, I think it was, between the Irish and the Vikings. And I was quite impressed. There was another story where he was a cripple uh, on the uh, on the plains of Texas and is remembering a past time from the Hyperborean age. And a magic priestess appears and tells him how he was this dude from the Hyperborean age, and he remembers this time when he'd been a barbarian.
Hmm.
And I think Howard's style there's something a bit Jack London about it. Some of his stories. If you know who Jack London is,
Jack London. No.
Call of the Wild, very famous for the story about the Alaskan sled dog, and numerous other stories which are not so well known. And I've read a few of his stuff, and he was an outstanding author. Okay, so he's in jail, and now he's going back in time. How did he end up in jail? Well, he's with Jenna, and she's waving out the window. Just friends, she's poisoned him, drugged him.
Hmm.
Don't hurt him in here, so she's betrayed him for a reward. And she's got a new boyfriend there, and they're going to do well with the reward. Okay, back in prison. This is right. So somebody's stolen the prison and wants Conan's help to annihilate the Red Priest.
Yeah, this is actually a really good book. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
So this is
following the book. Is it? Huh, maybe. I don't know. Keep going.
some of the stories here were from the books, of course, and
Yeah.
other stories I just made up for the comic.
This one's, this definitely got bit and pieces out of the book.
Okay. So let's see. So Conan immediately goes off to extract revenge from his old girlfriend and a new lover. Okay, they have a fight. Looks like he took his time just to make it look good, because I don't think this sensitive type would have lasted 2 seconds with him normally. Maybe he just wanted a bit of fun. Okay, Jenna, it's time. Where is Igon? Got his dagger. Grabs Jenna and throws her in the sewer. So it's about as much revenge as he's going to extract on her.
This is like pieces out of like 3 or 4 different books. That's funny.
Anyway, so it resumes the story where he's been hired to knock off the Red Priest. Makes his way in. And the guy who's hired him is trying to do the job himself. Okay, and he discovers the Red Priest is apparently a were gorilla.
Yep.
That rather reminds me of the second Conan movie, isn't it? There was a Red Priest in that. The guy who had his reflections in all the mirrors,
Yep. Yeah.
who took on the appearance of a gorilla.
They might have drew some of that from this. This is
And the fans, a lot of the fans seem to have disliked the first movie for not reflecting their ideal Conan, and they were more impressed by the second film in being closer to a fantasy story. The first film was sort of more an epic sort of story, I would imagine.
it hit really good with everybody, but I think there was a group of us out there that, yeah, were it varied a bit from the actual image of Conan. So I was one of those people, but still the movie was iconic in its own making. And the second one, I don't know. I like the first one better.
Black Lotus, this better not be Haga. This is Stygian, the best. Oh, that's right, yeah. Black Lotus, Stygian, the best. This better not be Haga. Would I try to cheat a slayer like you? And that was a director, John, was it Milius? Somebody like that. He'd put himself in for a part in the film, which is supposed to be considered intensely bad manners for film directors to insert themselves in the film. So he finds a real Red Priest who isn't a gorilla. And so the gorilla was sort of a mock-up of the Red Priest. Well, Conan's got a gorilla to fight it out with. Oh, right, the gorilla finds the leopard and kills the leopard. The leopard puts up a bit of a fight. Okay. he's going to fight it out with Conan. Now, Conan's more likely to have been defeated by the gorilla.
Mm.
But, of course, he's going to get through somehow. Oh, okay, with help. Yet there is no bloodlust left now in those glazed eyes, merely a grim, terrible pathos. A pathos swiftly hidden behind the swirling black mists of death. Okay, the Red Priest is going to betray them again. His blood was red after all. We are both safe now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In case the night watch heard his cry. So he's assumed Narbondius is dead, but he comes back later on. I don't know what this thing he's got, what this sort of hippie gear he's got draped around his body here. Been caught by some guards. So another thing which is always going to dog Conan is the cops. So I suppose these guards are the cops. It's taken before the sorceress queen. She must be an older type. She's killed her captain of the guards, which was her squeeze, and so he's going to replace that role for a while. And of course, there's a young maiden who creates jealousy in the sorceress queen. So Conan's upset her. Chained up, he only has to rip out the chains, which after much effort he does. That's a bit like me in one of my past lives. Okay, runs into an octopus beast. Finds trapdoor back into the throne room. And she throws her down the trapdoor and she gets consumed by the octopus beast. And he makes the slave girl queen. And the Constitution only allows women to be queens and rulers, so he can't be king, which was his plan, to become king of a kingdom. So he wanders off, which is what happened in the second film when the princess wanted him to reign by her side. And he said, I must find a kingdom of my own.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so here's a king. Oh, this is a sort of Black Knight story again, by the looks of things, is it? So they're starting to include they're doing cartoons of themselves, the creators of the comic, do you see here?
Oh, yeah.
A real gory story, Jill, right out of the old weird tales. Hey, I wonder if Conan ever met the Hydra Dragon when he wandered the Bosonian wastes. Can't say, my boy, but what I can tell you is this. If I ever stumble across a bleeding dragon, I plan to phone the Red Cross. So they've done a little cameo of the artists in here. Okay, Conan's ran across some marauders. Okay, he was looking for an oasis or something. And he stumbles through the desert in first, sees a mirage, jumps in the mirage, sand. And he kills a vulture which is trying to come after him. I wonder if he sucked its blood. Maybe they thought that was a bit too heavy for a comic back in those days. Runs across a friendly old man. Holy Mitra. Here, Outlander. So the guy's running some sort of a farming setup around an oasis. And he just happens to have an attractive daughter which goes around in a state of distress, which is unlike the Middle East today. So he's the Reavers have stolen his daughter and sold it to one of these crazy cities, which they're always into blood cults. Now, like I said, that really this story draws on a time more to do with Herodotus, which I've got the book of now, which I haven't read. And this is indicative of the pre-axial age. Have you ever heard of the axial age, Eric?
No.
Well, the axial age is a term summoned up by a philosopher called Jaspers to describe the period from about 800 AD to about 200 AD, which was, BC. 800 BC to 200 BC, which was an era of transition. And what we have is more a growth of the rational mind. You've heard of Socrates, I imagine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, Socrates is indicative of the new type of rational mind showing up. But Conan's world is still very much the world of ancient Egypt. It's the world of sorcerers. It's the world of god kings. This is a world which hasn't quite developed the later type of rationality, but what came in with the Grecian rationalism was also skepticism. But the interesting thing is Conan is a skeptic. He's skeptical about the glamour, for example, that surrounds the high priests and so on, whereas the ordinary public is enthralled. So Conan represents mental liberation above the ordinary person who's enthralled by authority and enthralled by cults. Well, he's still got his medallion pendants, whatever. Well, that's quite a vision. Looking up between Conan's legs, like he's got his fur underpants in place, would be in real trouble. Yazid is the name of this mad cultic town full of crazed priests, like the mad astrologer priests of ancient Babylon. Okay, and this guy's got their god, which just happens to be a giant spider who they throw people to. Well, he feeds the priest to the giant spider. And then he battles the giant spider. I don't know if he kills it, but he does it some damage. Tumble back into hell if you want to. Okay, he's down his hole. He's got some of the spider's green blood on him. The old man and the girl, they're the barbarian's friends. So her father gets killed in this process, if I remember correctly. He's coming to the city to try and rescue her himself. Okay, and yeah, it looks like this town had a fault line under it. Oh, that's right. He met an engineer somewhere in here. Okay, where's the father get killed? I remember that. There's the father. He's been captured. Okay, the father's met the daughter. Right, he's found a handsome blonde engineer who's a bit out of place in this sort of dark realm. So it's sort of people are a bit dark, like Bushites or something. So the father offers himself up for an earlier sacrifice. You there, barbarian, and that farmer you brought with you. On wants your bones to pick clean first. Father. All right. Looks like, yeah, father succumbed to the spider by the looks of things. Conan defeats the spider. And he's wandering along with a rather attractive, scantily clad woman again. I wonder why I like these comics. Anyway, he certainly doesn't want to stick around with some pretty boring digs. So she teams up with the handsome engineer. That was an interesting effect. So there was fault lines in the city, so it goes down like Sodom and Gomorrah, and is destroyed. Right, there it goes. Biblical wrath of some kind. Okay, there's
I'm so sorry I'm late. I'm having computer problems. I'm so sorry. Thank you for letting me in.
just remember one day you'll be late for everything.
Oh, bits of wisdom from Stephen. Thank
Yep.
you.
Is this the same artist here?
Apparently, yeah. So this is
Okay.
his little piece of work to wow everybody with. So he wasn't the inker, so he's just left this without being inked or
Yep.
coloured in. And again, we have some crazy princess at his feet. I've got some of the scripting for it. So I think, yeah, famously it was during the 70s, you know, that people started to notice that there was huge money in fandom. It had been there before, but I think Woodstock famously, suddenly people noticed that there was huge money in popular music, really huge money. And of course, by the 80s, we had Sony buying everything. And by, I think it was 1979, I think people were saying it was really, this was a new slick form of capitalism coming along. So we had a generation who considered themselves hippies. We were all doing the hippie stuff around 1970, criticising their parents for being materialists. And by the end of the 70s, they'd become the biggest materialists in history. What do you reckon, Eric?
Yep. Yeah, we were feeling that, feeling it rapidly increase through the 80s and 90s.
They would have made Henry Ford seem spiritual. There's another Conan illustration. I didn't look carefully over this pieces of work. All right, so okay, this was the Grey God Passes in comic form, which was so in the story, you've come across the story of the Grey God Passes, have you, Eric?
Grey God Passes.
I did pick up one,
Trying to.
yeah, one book in the there's a compilation called The Marches of Valhalla, but the Grey God Passes is a very famous Howard story. I'll see if I can find the Wikipedia for it. And I think this story actually inspired a pop song. Also known as Twilight of the Grey Gods. Yeah. Copy. Chat.
From Stephen Higgins to everyone, Twilight of the Grey Gods.
Yeah, it's a story in Irish annals. I think there's a Norse version in the Norse sagas, Viking sagas of it as well. It's a story of a guy called Con who's kept as a slave in Iceland, but he escapes back to Ireland. So he's sort of a slightly subdued sort of Conan figure. And he joins in with the Battle of Clontarf, which amazingly the actual story does really mirror a fantasy story. For example, the hero in Howard's version is in love with the Irish hero is in love with a fairy queen, of course, and she gives him some magical armor which would protect him from death, although he gets overheated during the battle and takes off the armor and therefore dies. But it was prophesied he was going to die anyway. So a bit Lord of the Rings-ish. sort of thing.
Mhm.
So this character is Con. And if Brian dies at my hands, all right, that's not Con, is it? That's the Viking. Okay. Yeah, that's the Viking leader. He looks like Conan the Barbarian. Okay. Oh. Oh no. Okay. Maybe he's Con. So the Conan look like is Con. You got the woman kneeling down. Look at the look in her eyes. All the jewels and all the gold. Hall of the Dead, that's Howard's story. Okay. A synopsis by Robert E. Howard. Okay. I haven't looked, I looked at all the main comics. I didn't look over these ones in great detail. Okay, Conan's saga begins as a story where he faces a frost giant. Well, I like her outfit. What do you reckon? Red Sonja, is it?
We said Red Sonja?
Yeah, that wasn't that another Howard character?
Yeah. Sonja. Red Sonja. Hawk from the Seas of a collection.
Okay, this is one where he meets Elric of Melniboné. You're familiar with that character, are you?
Yeah, Rick, I don't remember.
It's by a guy
The
called
coming of
Moorcock.
Elric.
Moorcock was big time with him, I think, in the early 60s. And Elric wasn't exactly a human. He was sort of an elfin race which dominated the humans. So he had pointy ears. And he was a weak, what do you call it? A weak albino, but he gets an evil magic sword which sucks the souls out of people and gives him energy and strength. And the sword's called Stormbringer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's a woman
That
on
is-
his boot again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is a red-haired maiden by the looks of things. Some eagles come down and drive the marauders away. So he's been hit by some magic marauders there. Something not quite of this world. The daughter of the wizard called Tsukala. Okay, this is some old enemy of Conan's. And in this case, he wants Conan to do something for him. Okay, so we've got the Green Empress, daughter of the king in the world called Melniboné, and the she-demon summoned from this mortal plane, a fearful sorceress in her own right, in the far-off, long-ago world. So this is a sorceress in a coffin that's going to rise again. Okay. So it's including the chaos law concept in this. Are you familiar with the battle between law and chaos, Eric?
No.
Yeah, well, Moorcock, instead of doing good and evil, had gods of law versus gods of chaos. This is, of course, a feature from the polytheistic mythologies, who, like the Greek gods, there's an element of chaos in their world. The Norse gods, same thing, whereas we got taken over by the one all-powerful God. Now, if you're one all-powerful God, as the Jews explains, he has to be also the source of all evil as well as good. And if this God is all-powerful, there is no actual chaos, because chaos would be something beyond his control. So there can't be a real chaos. But this is the more primitive world which still believed in chaos. So we've got this kingdom ruled over by some mad priestess. Oh, there's Elric the albino. The wizard puts some zap in Conan's sword, and Conan doesn't really like sorcery all that much, which is an attitude which generally you get, say, out of the Icelandic sagas, that the heroes think sorcery is unmanly. Sorcery is something purely for women. A real man doesn't do sorcery. And there's a bit of a fight with Elric. The wizardress Ter Hurl, whose sepulchre is said to be a treasure trove of sorceress lore. Many a night I spent reciting the ancient runes to waft me across the void from my world to yours, and to the sighing lake we both do plainly seek. Okay, then this doom spirit horde appear again. And Conan and Elric are fighting it out. Okay, the daughter of the wizard can invoke some magic. Goddess of rain, driving storm. So she creates a rainstorm which dissolves the spectral horde. And they disappear back to where they belong. So you've got to find this golden city which is sunken in a lake. Get hit by a few flying bat creatures. And they find a boat which is a rib cage of some monster. Go over and they find another mad priest. Okay, the green demoness or whatever, sorceress, rises from her sepulchre. I don't know how to pronounce it. Okay. Do you hear me, oh Siembar, Queen of the Chaos Swords? Terhali is risen, so that's the green demoness sorceress. And with her power added to your own, both this world and the bright empire of Melnibone are yours. Melnibone only serves Arioch, the Duke of Chaos. I have been tempted on times to start a cult of Arioch, the chaos demon out of the Moorcock novels. As does Elric, Master of Stormbringer. So he vanquishes the, all right, so the green sorceress is out. She wipes out, looks like she's wiped out the priest that resurrected her. You free, I'll let live as the first of my slaves. And even Melnibone will be mine again. And Elric says, I rule in Melnibone. Okay. Well, there's the sorcerer's, the girl's dead. So she, right, okay. His daughter offers herself to the lords of law, and she's turned into a superpower to fight the green sorceress. Okay, she defeats the green sorceress. But as a result, she can't live herself. She's destroyed herself in the process. So she dies, and Conan takes her body back to her father. And the Golden City disappears, destroys itself and disappears back into the lake. Elric rides off and he gives the daughter back to the sorcerer. And he throws the sword away, which has been charmed with magic, because he only used it out of desperation. Yeah, Elric, it's a nice little illustration, I think. Elric, of course, was unlike Conan. He was naturally a weakling who used sorcery and magic swords to be powerful. So Moorcock quite deliberately turned over the old legend. You know, the old legend had been Conan, had been Tarzan, had been Charles Atlas, the strong man that fights to a set of principles. But Moorcock in the 60s turned it over with Elric. Okay, there was this. Okay, this issue marks Barry Smith's final appearance as a regular artist on Conan the Barbarian. So this is the next one, and the art's not quite as classy anymore. They've got a new artist. They couldn't afford Barry Smith anymore, by the looks of things. That reminds me of one of the Conan novels, doesn't it? I sort of remember him fighting a couple of beefy dudes on top of a mountain with snow. Do you remember that one, Eric?
Right off. I'm not remembering it right off, but not yet anyway.
Okay, he meets the ice giant's daughter, who's going to fool him into a trap where the ice giants will defeat him. So she's a man trap. There are the two ice giants are getting ready. And he finds he's fighting both the ice giants. Of course, this is very much out of Norse mythology, where you have three breeds of humanoid. You have the normal men, you have the dwarves, and you have the giants. And this might have referred to real people. The dwarves might have been the Mediterranean people who had brought agriculture to Europe. They'd come out of the Middle East, so they're fairly small, sort of wiry people. The giants were the indigenous population of Europe, who were large, powerfully built hunter-gatherers. which in some cases could get up to heights of 7 feet. And the famous Aryans who migrated into Europe as cattle herders and brought the domesticated horse as a herd animal, I think, were the Aryans, whose language, of course, or Indo-Europeans, whose language dominates in Europe today. So you look in a lot of the Norse sagas and they call people giants who seem to have a temperament and mentality which is different from the Indo-European mentality which had migrated into Europe. So she's the daughter of Ymir, one of the Norse giants. Okay, that's the finish of this story. It looks like he's found himself a minstrel as a friend. And there's the world of Conan the Hyperborea. So, you know, you've got the Northern Realms, Vanahelm, Asgard, Hyperborea. You get into the Middle Kingdoms, which are sort of like the Celts and the Greeks. And then the Dark Kingdoms, where you're getting into sort of like Egypt and Africa, Stygia to the south. And the River Styx is a real phenomenon there. Okay, Aquilonia looks like one of the biggest and richest kingdoms, which is the one he grabs in the end. Okay.
So that's the 1970s original comic books.
Yeah, and very 1970s they were too.
Mm-hmm.
It's somewhat different from the new, you know, very high quality productions which started and very expensive productions which took off in the 80s. And trip was the banks were loaded.
Yeah.
Who can we give money to? And if you ask me, there's something lost in the process. I mean, you look at Howard, he was probably riding a bit in semi-poverty, wasn't he?
Yes. Well, yeah, that was right. A lot of depression during his time, during the Depressive Age. It was very difficult.
Yeah, well, he lived in an era which didn't have the dole. And if you're down on your luck, you had to borrow from friends and that.
Yeah, what about that? And these are the beginning comic books. How far have you collected up? Have you collected any up in the Dark Horse when the Dark Horse started writing?
Yeah, sorry, I just don't know which of the Dark Horse.
Well, I don't know much about them. I just thought that it sounded like an interesting series of them. Right after Marvel, I know Marvel owned it for quite a while, and it's changed hands several times.
Right, okay. Marvel Comics Group,
Yeah,
Conan
Marvel.
the Barbarian.
For a very long time, they did a lot of the comics.
Yeah, it looks like this whole series was done by Marvel. And this, of course,
Mhm.
is the early Marvel, not the monstrous corporation we have today.
Yep. It looks like some of them draw off the stories of the book. That's why I heard about when Dark Horse was writing some of the comics, they put them more in chronological order. and wrote them. I haven't seen any of them, but I thought that might be interesting. Because the books are not really in order. They're just a group of stories and they kind of jump all over the place. So you got to kind of hang with them. That is really cool though. I had no idea that the comic books for Conan had gone on that long. That they're so
Yeah, well, you can buy the series if you like. It looks like they've done the whole series. So if you go to your local comic store and, check out Conan, they'll probably show you the books. So they've, put all the comics together in these sort of albums. Okay, Dark Horse Comics, rightio. Okay, ran for 50 issues from 2004 to 2008.
Yeah, have you seen and that I thought I might look into that a little bit. I don't know how hard it is to get a hold of some of these different series. I don't know that we have a. I just have to see if there's even a comic book trading going on around here.
Well, it's a question of collecting, how big collecting is at the moment.
Yeah,
It goes through phases. I think collecting stuff was like pretty big about 25 years ago. I mean, really big.
yeah. Well,
I
it's
don't
kind
know what the story is now. I
of
think
collect.
I think the collecting business, it's when people have a lot of spare money.
I borrowed all the Conan books until I had all of them. I ended up collecting all of them, and I gave them all away to a friend at one point. And then after that, collected all of Frank Herbert's work. That's something totally different.
Frank, that's the June June series, is it?
Yes. And I don't know that's all gone too. So yeah, collecting was big there for a while, and then kind of it's now not collecting anything. But if I had any idea, I really didn't know that there was a bunch of Conan series at the time. I might end up collecting some of those as well in the comic books. But I didn't realize that it had been going on so long. That's why I thought I'd step in today and see what you had to present. It looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, in this old science fiction store, but Space Age, I remember they had this series of posters of the Baron out of Dune. I'm not the Baron. What was the name? What was his name? It was like the Beast Raban. That was it.
The Beast, Raban,
Yeah,
Raban,
yeah.
yeah, Raban, yeah.
And yeah, these posters, I
Dude.
wish I could find them again. You had this guy who was sitting down, real evil looking dude, just about breaking his stick he was hitting people with or stuff like this, it just looked so heavy, so evil. And I knew nothing about June much at the time. It's only years later that I connected the dots and realised this was Raban out of June. I'd really like to see those series of posters again, actually.
Yeah, there were some posters by an artist called Boris. I don't know if you saw those. He had some very good posters of the Conan and other ones, many other very well. I mean, they're really good artists. Him and his wife are really good artists. I think he did some of the work on the Robert Jordan books by Conan. His name's Boris.
What was the artist's name again? The posters?
Boris.
Boris.
Yeah. I believe, yeah, he did. He did some of the books, I think, by Robert Jordan. He did some of that artwork, and that's where I caught on to it. Then I found a bunch of his posters, and I've collected some of his artwork over the time. But it's very, it's good.
Yeah, it's showing a lot of the new stuff. I think the one I most enjoyed was the mini-series. There was the original Dune film, which was a delight to watch, but scuffed up the story.
That was difficult. That was difficult after reading all the different Dune books. It was difficult to step into the first movies.
I've heard this claim. Everybody, watches the film or maybe even reads a book and gets stuck with the idea of, the will to power. And they're saying that Herbert was actually critiquing the whole idea of the desire for power.
Yeah, Herbert, even though he was called a sci-fi actor in the end, but he really didn't consider himself that. He considered himself a social science, because that's what he wrote about, but it ended up being sci-fi. And so he's known for sci-fi, but he wouldn't claim to it. He was just like, no, I'm not really a sci-fi writer, but yeah, he turned out to be great. Um, yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms with Dune.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind watching the miniseries again. I came across it on DVD, and they wanted something like about $125 for it.
Gee.
And now you've got the current movies, which I wasn't so impressed by for some reason. You've seen I haven't seen the first of the current movies. I went and saw the second one.
Uh-huh. They tried to put it together really well, but by the time they got it out, I don't know. But out of the Conan series, we got a couple later movies, one that came out that started good, then kind of ran off. And now, am I hearing it right that there's going to be another Conan, a second one coming out, another Conan one they're working on, or not?
Oh, I see. I
There
didn't
was.
know. There was the Conan movie from about the year 2000, which was absolutely awful, if you
Yeah,
remember that one.
the movie in itself, I thought it started off good, it got running, and then what happened? So yeah, no, it kind of fell flat. And I saw a rumor that there was going to be more, but you never know these days. So we'll see. But yeah, that was the problem with the very first Conan. Just because read all the books, I had a hard time adopting Arnold Schwarzenegger as the main character. I had a hard time with adopting that. If it wasn't for that, I probably would have just loved it straight up. So,
So this is a book I grabbed back in the 70s because I was just a bit curious about what Robert E. Howard was all about.
uh-huh.
And so this is one called Marches of Valhalla, which has this crazy Viking-looking dude marching along, killing the 1 point zombies who come up against him or something like that. And he too has a girl draped at his feet. So I've still got the soft cover somewhere. I'd have to dig it out.
Well, that's
And I
Robert
thought,
Howard.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll read this. And I actually
Uh-huh.
I actually made the error of not realizing these were actual Howard stories, because I thought Howard only wrote dopey stories about barbarians. And I felt the stories in this book were a bit too refined, but I hadn't actually read it. I just looked at a bit of Conan writing. I thought, no.
No, that would be fun.
No, I haven't seen any of the modern Conan comics, which you're more familiar with, but these are the 70s ones.
That is really neat. Um, looks like they drew on the books a little bit here and a little bit there. Some stuff was obvious, and then, but that last one that you presented looked like they had mixed that in with other comic characters. That's what Marvel does, though. They mix it in with other characters or other comics. It's kind of what it looks
Yeah,
like.
well, Elric of Melnibone, yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't, yeah, that seemed different.
Yeah, I remember after watching June for the first time. I think I saw it at the end of '84, the first movie. It's quite an enchanting movie, and fantastic music by Toto.
Yeah, but did you read the book before you saw the movie?
No, I tried. I think I read the book after seeing the movie, but I only got up to about page 80. Maybe I could read it now. Somehow I've changed. My tastes and everything had changed. Don't know whether it's the zinc I started taking about a bit over 10 years ago. I had a zinc deficiency, so my mind's sort of changed. I found that I can persevere reading stuff and so on.
I don't know what it is about the Conan books, but I still go back. I don't have a lot of time to read, so just go ahead and listen to a lot of audiobooks. I own all the audiobooks for Conan as well. Because after I read them, you go back and listen to audiobooks. It gives you, I don't know, it just helps really fill in the gaps. But
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, because traditionally tales were told by voice, and to have somebody else read the book is cool too.
it makes it easy when I'm driving around. I mean, I don't know how else you find the time to sit and read these days. At least I can't. And so, yeah, I do a lot of audiobooks, but I have all the Conan audiobooks. You can't do that with comics though. Comics, 'cause half the stories in the pictures. So there is no way to narrate it. You've got to see it. Because just like yourself, I've seen people explain them, and half the stories in the pictures, and the other half is in the words.
Yeah, well, I thought even those the illustration work is not the sort of refined stuff, which you would have looked at Conan comics with much more sort of refined illustration than this early '70s stuff. But the '70s stuff is very lively.
Yes.
It projects the story so well that if you try to do a picture which is too refined, somehow you reduce the energy.
Well, that's why I think a lot of that Howard's writings and stuff like that are good, just because they don't feel like they're super refined. They feel. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he puts so much. I don't know how he does it, but it's just really, it draws you into it.
Yeah, well, I haven't read a Conan novel.
That's what you're saying, yeah.
Maybe I'll look up on YouTube and see if they've got as you have, somebody's reading one of the books.
Well, they're all over YouTube. And then I got some, it's also have audiobook programs for the rest of them. But yeah, they're all over YouTube.
Well,
And
man, I'm
it's
going to get
interesting.
out and protest. run around holding placards saying, YouTube is robbing from the authors, the people that own the story,
They do?
and will have a forever copyright.
So I like
Those caught infringing copyright will become slaves in chains.
I think it's better to, it's I purchased copies of all of them on audiobooks programs. It actually feels a little bit, first of all, you get better people that are better at reading, because some of the YouTube stuff is terrible. And so that's where I have the collection. There's no way to really collect them on YouTube. You're right, YouTube is a mess. But it feels better to collect them like that. So yeah, I got a fair collection of books there. But that's the only way to do it nowadays with work, is to just listen to them whenever there's a chance. Maybe after I retire, I can sit around and read books more. But that's not going to be for a while. But anyway, I appreciate you guys putting this together, but I'm going to have to skip out here.
Okay, great meeting you, Eric.
Yeah, thanks for putting that little bit together on Conan. This is one of my favorite subjects. And to see that there's a whole nother part that I haven't even touched about it, I guess I'll have to get to work and look around.
Oh, well, as long as capitalism is alive, Conan will be with us.
Anyway, thanks for putting this together. Maybe I'll keep my
Yeah,
eye out.
great meeting you. Yeah, great to see you.
Thank you. Guys, have a good day.
Bye, Eric. Oh, well, we found one fan.
I guess. Okay, so I guess we've arrived at a question. Stephen, are you interested in continuing with Conan?
Yeah, I quite enjoy Conan at the moment. I'll let you
Seriously.
know when I get sick of it.
We'll keep going. All right, if so, we will, but it'll be a little difficult juggling because I've got like the next 8-9 months blocked out, but all right, that's fine. We'll keep going with Conan. Might be a while, but we'll keep going. Sure.
Yeah, I'm just thinking now we had something wicked this way comes next week.
No, it's next week. We're still on Ray Bradbury. Got quite a number of months of Ray Bradbury. That'll take us to the end of the year before we're done with Bradbury. I've got like almost a full year blocked out. And in a larger sense, I've got the next 6 years blocked out. But we'll keep doing Conan until you say stop. We got a lot of stuff to get through. A lot of stuff. So our four Fridays are science fiction, fantasy, Karl Barks, and Lovecraft. And on the months where there's a fifth Friday, that's up for grabs. But all right, we'll keep going with Conan. I don't know when we'll schedule the next Conan, but November, maybe November.
Yeah, I was looking through the Gold Key comics. Grimm's Ghost Stories must have been one I saw in the newsstands.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure this would have about 4 stories in it.
we can do these. It'll be a long time before we get to them.
Oh no, I wasn't meaning, do the whole thing. I was just a bit curious. I think this is one I've seen. I remember details from it.
Yeah.
It's one where a diver goes down, he meets a ghost, which he thinks is friendly, which is trying to help him. And the ghost is somebody who's murdered another guy by hitting him in the head with a hammer, and the diver discovers the skeleton of the other guy with the hammer wound. And he discovers that this guy in the end was trying to hide his murder, even though he was a ghost. He'd actually tried to escape the sunken boat, but he'd got caught in a cable.
Mm. Yeah. That was yeah, Gold Key Comics. It's a pretty fascinating history about that collection of companies. Dell Comics, Gold Key Comics, and Western Printing. It's pretty fascinating history.
The Gold Key would do the occasional Disney movie.
It's an interesting history. If anybody's interested.
Did Ripley's Believe It or Not was part of it, a bit of Twilight Zone.
Yeah. Well, if we do those comics, it'll be about 6 years before we get to them, but I'll put them on the list if you want.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be around for that much, that long.
We've got a long plan, as I've said. One Friday is fantasy, one Friday is science fiction, one Friday is Karl Barks, one Friday is Lovecraft. And if there's a month with a fifth Friday, that's up for grabs. But I'll see how it might be November when we do another Conan. Maybe November. We'll see.
Okay, something wicked this way comes.
We've got a number of Bradbury to go. I think we're good for the rest of the year for Bradbury. In fact, I think January we'll be doing Bradbury till January.
Introduction by Ray Bradbury. Where did it come from and how did it get here? Mr. Dark and That Magical Train, a short story, a screenplay, and then a novel. Something wicked this way comes. Carnivals and circuses, childhood fears, boyhood dreams. Perhaps it began when I was 5 years old and took my first merry-go-round ride with my mother, which scared the heck out of me. I screamed and yelled and made them stop the merry-go-round and let me off. The next year I saw Clyde Beatty taming lions and tigers in a travelling circus, and this affected me. There was Blackstone the magician, who arrived on stage. I ran up and helped him disappear an elephant and became a boy magician. When I was 12, I saw Mr. Electro in a travelling carnival. He dubbed me with his flaming sword and told me to live forever. Sounds pretty good. On the way out of the carnival, I looked at the merry-go-round and its horses moving round and around and into the future, and I had a kind of idea that maybe those horses would take me there. When I was in my 30s, I met Gene Kelly, the great dancer, film actor, director. I so much admired his films that I decided to write a screenplay and give it to him. I took a story of mine about a carnival, which had been published in Weird Tales, and turned it into a 80-page screenplay and gave it to Gene Kelly. The screenplay was all about circuses and carnivals and Ferris wheels and merry-go-rounds. Gene Kelly loved it and wanted to make it into a film. He asked me permission to take the screenplay to Paris to try and raise money to make the film. He came back a month later and said, "Sorry, Ray, no money." Okay. It was finally made into a film, yeah, I recall, back in the 1980s, but it bombed a bit. So he had bad dreams in his younger days. Ray Bradbury, 2011.
Maybe to the end of the year. Maybe we'll be doing Bradbury to December.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Dave. Yeah, that was a fun session, I suppose, compared to some of them. We had an audience that talked.
Right.
Okay.
And
Yes, I'll catch you next time. What was the movie? You had a movie tomorrow, did you?
Tomorrow's is Chronopolis.
Oh, right. I think I saw another one. I forget what it was that interested me a bit.
The one after Chronopolis is Fire and Ice, which you keep talking about.
Oh, okay. Fire and Ice. Yeah, I want to be around for that because I haven't seen it.
Right. And Hellblazer.
See you later, Jason.
Chapter of Hellblazer.
And I'll catch you later, Ariel, probably in the Existentialists. So thanks a lot, and see you next time. Bye.